are some of the papers we've got for you this morning. We'll start with Nigerian Tribune. PDP chair, fresh plot to retain Damagun beyond 2025 unfolds. That's how they lead here today. Beneath this lead story, Southwest speakers, other principal officers to push for full legislative autonomy. That's what you see beneath that lead story right there. Daily Independent, experts warn of businesses in Nigeria collecting payment in dollars. The Guardian newspaper, MPC's imminent rate hike jolts firms amid inflation survival concerns. So what next now? They've been talking about this inflation and interest rate for life forever. Nigerian News Direct, tax reform bill's benefits exceed Northern Group's concerns. Ascribed to Jibrin. Calls for negotiation, further consultations. And while at that, Daily Trust, presidency lobbies National Assembly over tax reform bills. Proposed laws meant for good governance. Ascribed to Voila. The blueprint here, minimum wage hike will further strain Nigeria's fiscal imbalance. Ascribed to experts here today. The Daily Times, Edu, Nigerian government saves $20 billion by ending fuel subsidies. But this Nigeria probe missing 57 billion naira in Humanitarian Affairs Ministry, SERAP tells Tinubu. And beneath that one, Nigeria-Brazil signed MOU to boost agribusiness in 774 local government areas. The Abuja Inquirer focuses on a different matter. Kuka hates OBJ. Buhari Tinubu says country's leaders were never prepared for governance. Still talking about that quest to get leadership right, so you can have a look at that if you will. Business Day, investors park cash in treasury bills over real economy, so you may want to find out why. It's all here for you. Those are some of the dailies this morning.
Quite a lot going on in the papers this morning. It's a very busy day. Really, if you take a look at some of the things that are going to be happening. But I want to start with this Nigeria. If you got a copy of this Nigeria this morning, we're trying to calm everyone down. Don't be scared. It's a little bulky. And that's because they've published names. Again. Names of noisemakers. No, I'm just kidding. So this is the FCT, the people who have outstanding C of O payment in all the districts of the nation's capital. So their names are right there. Try and pay so that your name will not be on the list, you know. They said they were going to do this. They said they were going to do this after the ground rent issue. They said they were going to propose this one. So maybe go on the This Day newspaper, check to see if your name is there, find out how much you're owing, and then pay that up. And let's. I
don't want to hear even Nigeria is owing. So go on, pay your money.
Let's stop this, okay? Meanwhile, everyone has been looking at this, and I want to be able to talk about it, probing this missing 57 billion naira in Humanitarian Affairs Ministry. SERAP is telling President Bola Ahmed Tinubu it's important that we keep this conversation on the front burner, because this is one of the most shocking things to happen. Well, a lot of shocking things have happened, but really shocking that this happened. You know, this 57 billion naira, it's money that needs to be found. Where is it? The probe needs to happen. We've seen, yes, there's a new minister there. We know that the president had removed the former minister. We hear that a lot of things have been happening to rearrange the humanitarian ministry so that it can actually be beneficial to the Nigerian people. This is great. But for accountability purposes, we need to know where this money is. So SERAP is asking President Bola Tinubu to probe this 57 billion naira. We can't allow these sorts of things happen. And whoever needs to be held responsible for this, or whoever group, because this is not a one-man job. Yep. This is something that people came together and decided to steal our common patriarch. It's wrong. You cannot do this. And we have to start naming, shaming, and prosecuting people for doing these sorts of things. I know I sound like a broken record. I know we hear people say this quite a bit, but we have to continue pushing that this probe is done. So there, from the This Nigeria newspaper.
Well, the thing about that is actually I've not, gone through that to understand the latest or the basis for them asking for that, because we do know that it's been probed. The last time the AFCC put up a statement that they are on it, on that particular matter. In fact, accounts for that ministry has been frozen. So I think the new leadership, both the minister and minister of state now, will be trying to see how they can free some part of that to get down to work. Because no matter what happens, while investigation is going on, of course, they've got to find a way to get the ministry functional. So you don't have to freeze the entire funds and say, no, don't spend. No, if you're investigating, you can keep your investigations going while funds are released for the ministry to get down to work, because that's why they are in those positions to work. So they have to be a lot more methodical, smart about the way they're going on with the probe, but it shouldn't take forever.
It shouldn't take forever. You know that saying, you cannot lock up your shop and be pursuing thieves. You will not make any money. but you have to, you're absolutely correct. We have to find a way to balance it out. This has to be functional while the accountability mechanism is in place,
Yeah,
so it has to keep working.
And besides, a lot of anti-corruption agencies need all the support they can get and help they can get. But at the same time, they also need some internal scrutiny and probe themselves. The SFU, for instance, that unit, government needs to have a second look, if not a third or fourth or fifth look at that unit, because the narratives we hear from those places in terms of how they carry out their functions is a big question mark. And in a couple of days, I think people will begin to see certain things. But so that said, leadership would have been lovely if we had it. Controversy about GMO foods, but that's
genetically modified.
Yeah, but that's not coming up yet, unfortunately. So
I did see this headline here from the Daily Trust.
Which one?
And is Daniel Bola, at least I'm saying that's the name I'm saying, Daniel Bola, the presidency lobbying the National Assembly for those tax reform bills.
Oh.
So just because this is now another layer to the conversation, because remember it was these are the tax reform bills.
Yeah.
Then northern governor said no, we don't want it. Then next says no, really review. Said no, it's going to the National Assembly. Now the presidency itself is the one lobbying the National Assembly to ensure that these tax reform bills go through, which means that they want them to go through.
Yeah,
it's a very interesting conversation. More from pages 4 and 6, by the way, of the Daily Trust this morning.
That's the way it should be. They need to lobby the assembly, make their case, make their case to ensure that those things are done right. So what, unfortunately, I think we'll focus on this safety of GMO foods at a later date, because there are huge question marks about all of those. It's reported in some dailies, by the way. And don't forget, I know strong opponents of that, I think their hopes might have been dashed, because it's already been approved. The first phase of the cowpea, as a matter of fact, was the one that was first approved in this country, and that was 2019.
All right, well, I think we're supposed to
as far back as 2019, yeah.
We're supposed to take a look at some of the things that are happening today.
What's happening? Yes.
Oh, today is a very important day for women all around the world. The 16 days of advocacy to fight sexual and gender-based violence is actually kicking off today, and that is one of the major happenings today. There are briefings all over the nation's capital today, and I'm sure Ministry of Women Affairs in the States as well will be doing what they can to ensure that this advocacy works. So we're going to start off with that. The first major story happening today, 16 days of advocacy to fight sexual and gender-based violence and all the issues that are arising from that. Many people have pointed their fingers at the courts, at the justice system. The judicial system has to be able to provide the justice that people need for these sorts of cases. Because what usually happens is that, it's not properly done, and then these people who have outed powerful men or women in society end up going back to their communities and being victimized for them, for those acts. And then, of course, the numbers are crazy. So what we're talking about now, Chamberlain, if we see 3 women, 1 in 3 of them has been abused.
Is that high?
It's that high, 1 in 3. So by the time you see 4 women sitting down together, where you say hello to this one, by the time you get to the 3rd one, 1 of them has been abused, which is shocking and very scary.
Yeah.
And the culture of silence. Recently, I think last week, it was the the European Union that had a conversation about sexual and gender-based violence and the roles of sexual abuse referral centers. Because these centers, we have 47 in Nigeria and just in 22 states. So there's a call for more of these centers to be functional across the country. And then, of course, you know, the impact that they have on reducing this culture of violence. There's a lot of accountability that comes from the Attorney General's office, and that's actually the office that handles these centers in the states. You know, so sexual and gender-based violence is something that is a blight on our nation. It's something that makes us look really bad. It's around the world, yes, but something that we as a people have to come together. The call is for concerted effort as communities, as people in this country. It cannot be something that we allow, something that we condone, or allow a culture of silence around.
Yeah, so let's do what we can to ensure that those staggering stats don't get any worse than they already are. So perhaps those agencies need to look at how do they measure their success in terms of what they're doing, advocacy, are people listening, why they're not listening, what we call channel noise in broadcasting, is it happening there? So all of those components are things that those agencies need to look at, including approach to spreading the messages. So all of them, it's a complex whole. All right, so there you go. That said, we'll go to a break now, but we'll be back in just a moment. Stay on with us.